Humans have managed to live in every habitat on Earth, from the frozen poles to the middle of the ocean, and even in the vacuum of space. Yet other highly cooperative, tool-using species are still living exactly as they did 100,000 years ago. Our success is tied to a specific biological invention: language. By giving names to abstract concepts, we created an inner world, a mental landscape where we can build relationships between ideas. Most animals are limited to thoughts of immediate images and instinctual drives. They can communicate alarm or anger, but they cannot formulate a plan. Language allowed us to simulate reality, creating a memory of the past and a projection of the future. But this simulation was missing a critical component. For tens of thousands of years, this entire inner world was trapped inside the biological tissue of a single person's brain. This created a cycle of knowledge death. When an early human died, every simulation they had built and every future plan they had envisioned died with them. Evolution could only move as fast as a person could remember and teach. For life to move beyond the limits of a single body, it needed a way to save its progress. It had to find a method for storing information in a medium that wouldn't rot with the brain. These physical impressions in clay represent the solution. This is cuneiform, the first time a living organism successfully offloaded its memory into an external drive. Writing had arrived. This wasn't a cultural milestone. It was a hard science singularity. Writing is the only non-biological method of storing evolutionary information ever developed in the history of the Earth. For over 3 billion years, life relied on chemical DNA. But DNA is slow. It takes thousands of generations of random mutation and natural selection just to alter a single limb or discover a new chemical process, like photosynthesis. When we began storing information in symbols, the pace of change shifted. We no longer had to wait for random genetic mutations. We could identify a problem, test a solution, and record the result in a single lifetime. Because writing isn't tied to the chemistry of a cell, it can instruct any material in existence. It allows life to move past proteins and organic molecules to encode the blueprints for things like nuclear reactors and digital networks. Writing hacked the rules of natural selection. By creating a limitless external operating system, life found a way to scale complexity at the speed of thought rather than the speed of reproduction. This new code forced a reorganization of human life that mirrors the most significant events in our deep history. It is the same process that occurred when single-celled organisms merged to create complex, multicellular animals. Just as a cell loses its independence to become part of a body, individual humans began to merge into massive host organisms, the modern corporations and governments that define our world. These organizations operate as living systems. They consume energy, they grow, and they compete for survival. Most of us would be unable to survive more than a few weeks if these techno-economic entities suddenly collapsed. The DNA of these modern hosts is constructed entirely of text. Every legal framework, every operating procedure, and every line of computer code acts as the genome that dictates how the organization functions and replicates. We are now living in a world where the most powerful evolutionary changes are happening to the written code of our institutions, rather than the biological code in ourselves. In this new hierarchy, we function as the cellular engines. We provide the labor and the consciousness that powers this higher level of symbolic life. From our tax laws to our education systems, our entire physical environment and daily survival are now dictated by these written systems. This shifts the nature of power. Influence no longer belongs to the strongest individual, but to those who can understand and navigate the complex symbolic systems that organize our society. The people who can read, author, and manipulate this information, the coders, the policymakers, and the inventors, are the ones steering the trajectory of our species. By learning to interact with this external code, an individual transitions from a passive passenger of evolution into an active architect. They gain the ability to adjust the parameters of the host organisms we live within. This mastery is what allows us to solve the physical hurdles of space. DNA can only build a body for Earth's atmosphere, but symbolic code allows us to design the shielding and life support needed for alien worlds. It is the tool that will carry our consciousness out of this planet to populate the galaxy.